In the fog-shrouded streets of Whitechapel on the evening of August 31, 1888, a woman was found dead in her bed, her throat slashed and her body mutilated beyond recognition. The killer left no trace behind but one chilling signature: Jacktheripper. This single, macabre inscription set off a wave of terror that would rock London's East End for months to come. Each victim, brutally slain under cover of darkness, bore marks of the same brutal hand, a hallmark that made the Ripper's crimes all the more terrifying. The first case, Mary Ann Nichols, was found in her room, her throat slit and her body ravaged by a series of vicious cuts. The killer had left no identifying mark but his cryptic signature. As the weeks passed, 4 more women met their grisly end, each one's body a testament to the Ripper's escalating brutality. Each victim was chosen with cold calculation, her throat severed before her body was mutilated in ways that defied both logic and explanation. The press dubbed him Jack the Ripper, a moniker that seemed to whisper across the city like a ghostly specter, its presence more felt than seen. The police, hamstrung by limited resources and the sheer anonymity of their foe, could offer no real leads or solutions. As autumn set in, so did a growing paranoia, as if every shadow held the potential for deadly encounter. The Ripper's reign of terror was not just a series of murders. It was an unspoken fear that gripped the hearts of Londoners, forever etched into the city's dark history. In the grimy and crowded heart of London, just as the city's sun dipped below the smog-laden horizon, the East End teemed with life. Whitechapel, where the body of Mary Ann Nichols had been discovered on that fateful evening, was a place of stark contrasts: bustling streets by day, empty alleys by night. The era was one of rapid industrialization and social upheaval. The late 19th century saw the urban poor living in squalor. There lives a daily struggle against poverty, disease, and crime. Whitechapel's population had swelled with migrants from Ireland and Eastern Europe, seeking work but finding only exploitation. The area was notorious for its overcrowded tenements, where families lived in cramped, often rat-infested conditions. Mary Ann Nichols herself was a product of this harsh reality. Born on April 12, 1847, she had spent her life in the shadow of destitution. She worked various jobs, sometimes as a laundress, sometimes in domestic service, to make ends meet. Her last known employment was at the Mortlock Street School, where she cleaned and cared for children. Mary Ann's life had been marked by constant struggle. She often slept on benches or in doorways, her meager earnings barely enough to buy food. The autumn of 1888 brought a chill not only from the weather, but from an unknown terror that seemed to lurk in the shadows. On the night of August 31st, as Mary Ann lay in her bed in Commercial Street, her life was cut short by a brutal and inexplicable force. The world she knew, a world defined by poverty, hardship, and the relentless pursuit of survival, was suddenly plunged into darkness, leaving behind only questions that would echo through history. On the evening of August 31, 1888, a woman was found dead in her bed, her throat slashed and her body riddled with wounds. This grisly discovery marked the beginning of a nightmare that would come to be known as the Whitechapel murders. The victim, Mary Ann Nichols, was discovered by her landlord at 3:45 a.m. on September 1st, her death having gone unnoticed for hours in the dense and often impoverished East End of London. Her body lay in the narrow room she shared with a boarder, blood stains and knives scattered around her. The coroner's report would later reveal that Nichols had been struck by an object, likely a knife, multiple times. The first hours following the discovery saw constables and detectives rushing to the scene, their boots echoing through the quiet alleys of Whitechapel. Inspector Frederick Aberline was among those on the ground, his presence marking the official start of the investigation into what would become known as the Jack the Ripper case. He and his team combed through the area, gathering evidence and interviewing neighbors and passers-by. The second victim, Annie Chapman, met a similar fate just over 2 weeks later, on September 8th. Her body was found in a back alley off Hanbury Street, her throat cut, abdomen mutilated by several deep wounds. The discovery of Chapman's body set the stage for a series of chilling encounters between the killer and his victims. On October 3rd, Elizabeth Stride became the third victim. Found dead in Berners Street early that morning, her case would remain unsolved until years later when another body was discovered nearby, believed to be that of Catherine Eddowes, who had also been attacked but managed to escape with minor injuries before succumbing to her wounds hours later. As the bodies continued to pile up and the fear spread through the East End, public panic reached a fever pitch. The press, always hungry for sensational stories, began to speculate about the identity of the killer, painting a picture that would evolve into the Jack the Ripper legend. Each new body added another layer of mystery, with theories ranging from a serial murderer to a group of conspirators. The investigation stretched on through November and December, but no clear suspects emerged. The killer seemed to vanish as suddenly as he appeared, leaving behind only a series of cryptic letters that did little to clarify the situation. The last known victim was Mary Jane Kelly, whose body was discovered in her room at 13 Miller's Court on November 9th. The end of the year brought no resolution, and by January 1889, the police officially declared an end to their manhunt, though the investigation remained open for years. The case of Jack the Ripper became one of the most perplexing and enduring mysteries in criminal history, with countless theories and suspects proposed over the decades. In the dark alleys and crowded tenements of Whitechapel, a killer had left his mark, forever changing the way Londoners viewed their own city and the hidden dangers that lurked within its shadows. The response to the murders was immediate but fragmented. The Whitechapel district was notorious for its poverty and squalor, and the police were stretched thin. The initial investigation focused on securing the crime scenes, interviewing neighbors, and collecting evidence such as clothing, hair, and other trace materials. Forensic science at the time was rudimentary. Thus, much of the physical evidence collected may not have been systematically cataloged or analyzed. One of the key pieces of evidence recovered was a knife with bloodstains found near one of the crime scenes. However, it soon became apparent that multiple knives could match this description, and without DNA testing, then unavailable, the identity of the weapon remained uncertain. Additionally, footprints were noted in the mud at several locations, but their exact origin or significance was not fully explored. Suspects emerged from various quarters. One of the most prominent was Dr. George Bernard Shaw's sister, Mary Josephson, who had been seen arguing with a victim. However, she was quickly cleared due to lack of concrete evidence linking her directly to any murder. Another theory centered on the notorious prostitute Annie Chapman herself, but there is no direct evidence to support this. The Whitechapel murders gained national and international attention, leading to increased pressure from both within and outside London. The Metropolitan Police faced criticism for their handling of the case, with some accusing them of being too slow or inept. Political pressure mounted as public fear escalated, resulting in calls for more effective policing and a greater allocation of resources. A significant breakthrough came when a series of letters known as the Moriarty Letters were sent to newspapers claiming knowledge about one of the murders. These letters introduced a character named Jack the Ripper, but their authenticity was never verified. The letters added a layer of mystique to the case, contributing to the enduring fascination with the perpetrator. Despite these developments and increased scrutiny, the police largely remained stumped. The lack of reliable witnesses and the chaotic nature of the East End hindered their efforts significantly. Institutional failures were evident in the inadequate communication between departments and the failure to properly document evidence from each crime scene. The case went cold after the final murder on November 9, 1888. The true identity of Jack the Ripper remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, leaving countless theories but no definitive answers. Theories about Jack the Ripper's identity remain as murky as the fog that once blanketed Whitechapel. Several strong suspects have emerged over the years, each offering a unique perspective on who may have committed these horrific crimes. One of the most prominent theories points to a medical student named William Connolly. His access to knowledge of human anatomy and his financial struggles provide a compelling narrative. However, there is no concrete evidence linking him directly to the crimes, and his alibi for at least one of the murders is well documented. Another leading suspect is Dr. George Phillips, who worked in a hospital near Whitechapel. His psychiatric history and erratic behavior could explain his potential motive. Yet Phillips' whereabouts on several nights are accounted for by witnesses, leaving him out as a prime suspect. The Whitechapel resident theory suggests that the killer was someone well known to the community, possibly a local resident with a grudge against women or a disturbed individual. This theory is bolstered by the fact that the victims were all women, but it lacks concrete evidence and fails to explain the meticulous nature of the killings. Jack the Ripper himself has become an enigma, his identity shrouded in mystery. The most intriguing aspect of these theories lies in their contradictions. Why would a medical student or a doctor commit such heinous acts? And if the killer was a local resident, how did they escape detection? The absence of conclusive evidence and the sheer brutality of the crimes have ensured that Jack the Ripper remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Each theory offers a glimpse into the psyche of a murderer who preyed on vulnerable women in a dark corner of London over 135 years ago. The case of Jack the Ripper remains one of history's most perplexing and enduring mysteries. Despite numerous theories, no definitive evidence has been uncovered to conclusively identify the killer or unravel his true identity. Recent years have seen some intriguing developments, primarily through advancements in forensic science. DNA testing on historical evidence and new techniques for analyzing old cases have sparked renewed interest, but have not yet yielded a breakthrough. Cold case units around the world continue to revisit the Ripper's crimes, though without definitive results. New witness accounts and confessions have occasionally been put forth, only to be debunked by experts or lack substantive evidence. The most enduring questions remain unanswered. Who was Jack the Ripper? What were his motives? How did he evade capture for so long? The case, while not solved, continues to captivate the public's imagination, ensuring its place in true crime lore. The Jack the Ripper case remains a dark shadow over London's history, casting doubt on the safety and security measures of its time. It spurred advancements in forensic science and changed how law enforcement approaches serial killers. Yet nearly a century and a half later, the identity of Jack the Ripper eludes us. Who was this man? What drove him to such barbaric acts? These questions continue to haunt investigators and fans alike, ensuring that the legend of Jack the Ripper endures as one of history's most perplexing mysteries. If this case gripped you, there are dozens more waiting in the criminal archive. Every week, we uncover new stories that history tried to forget. Subscribe now and never miss a case. The truth is out there, and we will find it together.